M14. How have I come to this? How have I come to this point? I like this rifle. I really do. I shoot this rifle a lot. I'd even go so far to say it's one of my favorite rifles I own. But God, this thing sucks. To start this video, I have to give you a little bit of backlog on this rifle. In the early 1950s, the U.S. military set to replace the M1 Garand, an aging service rifle that was becoming obsolete. A lot of people in the Armed Ordnance Corps could not accept that fact. But it was. There were two rifles competing against each other, the T-44 and the T-48. The T-44 being the M14, which does not look like an M14 but is the basis of the rifle, and the T-48, which is actually a modified FNFAL. Early on the test, the T-48 was actually doing poorly in cold weather environments. After modification, however, the gun started to operate really well. One of the clear decisive winners, allowing us to choose the T-44, was the promise that they would get the rifle to be able to use existing tooling and parts of the M1 Garand. Being able to use as much of what we already have to build this rifle. A big promise and a big reason to go with something. You already have the manufacturing capabilities, the surplus of parts that the Army has to service those rifles, the factories that have parts for guns that haven't been put together yet. And this is what we get. This 9.2 pound amalgamation of not a Garand. And that's the issue. Because by the end of the development cycle, this rifle does not use any M1 parts or any of the tooling to make an M1, but instead relies on new tooling and new parts. How? How? To top it all off, this rifle is supposed to be better than an M1. And the only way it's better is capacity. It was supposed to be lighter, smaller, hold more rounds, be able to do suppressive fire capabilities. Well, let's look this over. An M1 Garand with a 22-inch barrel and an M14 with a 20-inch barrel. M14 smaller, right? Wrong. Problem is, when you put this gigantic flash hider, which makes a ring sound every time you shoot it, it is now longer than M1 Garand. I can't even put this rifle in the bag I use for my M1. My M1 barely fits in it. My M14 doesn't fit in it. Lighter. You're not wrong. An M14 is lighter. How much lighter, you may ask? 0.3 pounds. That's right. An M1 Garand is 9.5 pounds. An M14, 9.2 pounds. Are you fucking kidding me? Lighter? No. Hold more rounds. Correct? 20 rounds. Which now makes the gun heavier. Now we have a 10-pound rifle. Fully automatic capabilities. You're right. Full auto selector lever. Oh wait. The soldiers can't hit anything with it, so that feature was removed early on. You essentially have an M1 with a detachable box magazine now. The one thing I can give this rifle credit for is its gas system. The M14 has a white expansion gas system, which is essentially a fancy way of saying short stroke. M1, long stroke. Problem with the M1, most of us know, you run really hot ammo, you do risk bending the op rod. Okay, cool, we got that there. We got an actual functional improvement on the rifle. So, I mean, something that is very similar to an M1, you would imagine, took what, 3-4 years to get in production? Nope, 10 years, give or take. Some of the dates aren't official. The T-44, as the name would suggest, actually was developed in 1944. Not for really real trials, but something Springfield as a standalone rifle for future testing. It is estimated the program took place somewhere in the late 40s to early 50s, with production quote-unquote at 1954. But we know that to be a lie because official rifles started showing up and truly adopted for the U.S. military in 1959. So that gap, that basically 10-year gap, not 5 years, but 10 years. What happened? Oh yeah, we had to develop new tooling. We had to get new parts. Take the T-44, which was far from a finished rifle, and refine it into the M14, and then get all the tooling for that rifle, and then get all parts made, because when you give the military a gun, you can't just give them a gun, you have to give them parts for servicing. So 1959, we spent all this time and all this money, and this rifle's clearly the better option. I mean, God, it must have been a great rifle. It must have served for a long time. Yeah, it did. 5 years. 1959 to 1964. 5 years of a service life, making it officially the shortest serving rifle in U.S. military history. What the hell? How? I keep saying how with this rifle, because so much of it is crazy. It's almost a mystery. It's baffling that this rifle was even adopted. But I guess favoritism is a thing after all, even in the U.S. military. And I think that's one issue with this rifle. Speaking of favoritism and people's favorite, if you put this rifle next to an M1 Garand or Garand or Garand, or however you want to say it, and you ask that person, A, which rifle would you rather have, and B, which rifle is cooler, every single person is gonna say the M1. And that's the problem, isn't it? Because in 2021, these aren't fighting rifles anymore. These are civilian rifles. These are rifles that the military doesn't buy, but we buy because we want them. We like them. We shoot them. We think they're cool. Hell, we may even hunt with them or take classes with them because we're stupid, or do vintage matches with them because that's cool. And you ask that person which one they'd rather have, everyone goes with the M1. And Springfield has the gall to ask $1,700 to $2,000. That's right, $1,700 to $2,000 or more, depending on the model, for an M1A, which is essentially a semi-automatic only civilian sale variant of the M14. $2,000. I can go join a club that gives me CMP access for about $100 or less and buy a CMP certified M1 for anywhere from $1,000 to $1,200 for a good one. I can go more expensive if I really want to, but I don't have to. That price, $1,000 to $1,200 for a real deal, re-arsenaled M1. Who buys these rifles? Me, apparently, because I'm an idiot. I bought one. It's cool. I'm a milsurp guy. I had to have one. I had the money. I saw it sitting there. And that little stupid voice in my head said, buy it. And I bought it. And I love this thing. It's a fun rifle. But it's not accurate whatsoever. We're talking about a rifle notoriously known for 4 MOA or greater. A rifle that once you lock into it, you really don't know how many rounds you have until something changes and you no longer have a zeroed rifle. I've heard 2,000 rounds. I've heard 200 rounds. But the problem is, you lock into the stock warps inside, or the tension between the trigger guard and the receiver, the two parts that lock together, hold together, the tension changes, or something goes awry in its stock, and all of a sudden you have lost that true bedded action that you zeroed into. 4 MOA for a $2,000 rifle? Are you kidding me? Don't even get me started when the barrel gets hot. This rifle is an extremely thin barrel profile for .308. And I think that's the big issue with its price point. And $2,000 for a 4 MOA. Look at AR-10s. Look at AR-10s. You can get a really good AR-10 for about $2,000 to $2,300. You can get some cheaper ones for, $14,000 to $17,000. And they will all outperform this rifle in every conceivable way. $2,000. That's $300 more, and I have a Daniel Defense DD5. One of the upper echelon .308 ARs or AR-10s. And we're still not in SR5 territory, or SR25 territory, but, you know, who cares? $2,000. My God. Springfield's own St. Victor 308 is like 12 to 14. And it will outperform this rifle in every way. How do you have the gall to ask $2,000? I get it. Nostalgia. Because idiots like me exist. God, I'm an idiot. But I love this rifle. I really do. I have like 15 mags for it. These mags aren't cheap. I really like this rifle. So, you know, I can't speak such negative impulses about this rifle when I myself enjoy it and I love it. But in the context of history, it sucks. There's no reason we should have went with this rifle. It's a good thing this gun only lasted 5 years in service. It was obsolete 5 years before it was adopted. And that's the problem. But God, I love this rifle. I really do. It's fun. It's cool. It is Vietnam 1962 feeling every time I bring this thing out of the case. And damn, it looks good. But one thing I am glad to say, this rifle is not a rifle lost in history. Because the military did adopt it. And this rifle did see service in a really bad but major conflict. And it has been recorded in history and infamized in Hollywood and novels, and will always be a rifle in history that we will see time and time again. People won't forget about it. It is a cool rifle. And in the grand scheme of things, it is a fighting rifle. 4 MOA is horrible. This rifle is Minute of Man. It is better than an M1. It is. As much as I joke on this rifle and shit on it, it is better than an M1. As a fighting tool, it is superior in every way. But the context of why it was adopted and when it was adopted, and comparing it especially to modern viable options, it is not a great rifle anymore. But goddamn is it cool. Thanks for watching Tools of Salvo, guys. Please like, please subscribe, and hit that bell icon. If you like this format, let me know. If there's some things I could change, please feel free to post in the comments. This is hopefully the first of many more to come of these gun reviews. Take care until next time. Tools of Salvo.
Bravo Fox Pop, leveling 16,000. 337 for Bravo Fox Pop. Okay, 3,000, let's number 10 short driver. Let's go to the tower again.